Welcome to Liberal Dan Radio, where I'm introducing a new video series, but before I do so, please remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps the algorithms, and remember to comment below because that also helps the algorithms too. For a while now, I've been wanting to make a video dealing with men's rights advocates, or MRA, men going their own way, or MGTOW, and other toxic areas of the so-called manosphere. But recently, the algorithms have been putting many of those videos front and center in my feed, so now I feel as if I have been called to start making these videos now. But before I continue, I know that many of the people who embrace these groups and the people in these groups themselves will likely come into these videos and call names like, I'm a beta cuck soy boy or various other childish tactics. Some might even comment on my weight, despite the fact that I have the whole Fat Man Rant series specifically set up because I already anticipate people, mocking the weight because that's what they do. But them doing this is simply going to prove that they can't win an argument with facts, logic, or reason. So, ahead of time, I just want to thank y'all for conceding the argument already. So, who are the main types of people that I will be responding to in these videos in this series? This is not an exhaustive list, but first we have the so-called alphas. These are the folks who view themselves as the pinnacle of manhood, and they use so-called traditions, archaic gender roles, sometimes religion, and pickup artist type shaming of women to try and justify their bad behavior and harmful ideals. Not only do they support the patriarchy, but they want to strengthen it and think the world is better for it. Remember though, to paraphrase the words of Tywin Lannister, no one who has to declare themselves an alpha is a true alpha. However, these folks are a self-made fraternity of sorts, and you can't just let anybody into the group that thinks themselves elite. So, if everyone's elite, then nobody is elite. But if you artificially limit the amount of people in your group, then you're going to need others to fight for that group, or else it's not going to be successful. So who else have they conned into supporting them? First, you have the MGTOW incel types. These folks reject the idea that there's a patriarchy. They believe that society is set up against men. They believe that the changes that have been set up in society have only benefited women and have harmed them and their ability to be successful in dating and in life. However, they look at the first group and see them as beating the system, and they want to be just like them, so they will support the so-called alphas because they believe that one day they'll be an alpha as well. Kind of like the poor Southerners who would never have a chance to ever own slaves, but who still fought for the rights of people to own slaves in the Civil War. Those elitist so-called alphas will never let any significant number of these MGTOW incel types into their ranks, though they will charge them insane amounts of money to teach them how to do so. And they'll make exceptions for some just to continue to con and make sure that the peons continue to sub to their channels and pay for their super chats and keep the self-proclaimed alphas rich, because, you got to keep the grift going. You got to keep them, eating up all the good stuff that you're serving them, because how else are you going to maintain the lifestyles that you've had so that, some people will continue to throw themselves at you because you've managed to be rich, because you've conned people into thinking that this is the way that you're supposed to live your lives. Meanwhile, you're living your lives off of the suckers who pay you money wanting to be like you. The final group, or at least main group of people that I'll be making videos about, are the pick-me's, i.e. the women who actively support these ideals too. Now, I can't explain why people who are pick-me's would believe the things that they do, especially when they're promoting things that are against their own best interests. But they'll do things like shaming other women for wanting things like freedom and equality. I guess they're doing so in the hopes that, these so-called alphas will bring them along for the ride and help them to be successful with their blogs or whatever. So what do you think? Are there any other groups that you think need to have some focus? Do you think I'm completely out of line with anything that I've said here? Let me know in the comments, and remember to like the video, share it, and subscribe to the channel as well. And tune into the podcast every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central here on youtube.com/LiberalDanRadio for Talk from the Left. That's right.